Hi, everyone. My name's Gary Glass. Some of you may know me, some of you may not. Either way, it's okay. My background is I spent over 30 years working for NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and I've recently retired. And it's been really interesting. I've been spending a lot of my time studying success and success principles since I've retired, and it's just been a fabulous study. What I'd like to share with you today is I'm going to read one of the passages that I've read over and over and over again, and it's by Earl Nightingale, and it's called "The Strangest Secret." And I'll just share with you a little bit of I don't know. So I'll share the probably the first 5 minutes or so of it, and I'll probably give a little bit of commentary too. So it's it's a fabulous piece. Earl Nightingale, back in the early 1950s, mid 1950s, he owned his own insurance business, and so he found that every Saturday he would have to motivate his team, and so everybody would go to the office on Saturday, and they'd get Earl's motivational talk. And so one week, Earl was just tired. He wanted to go fishing. He loved fishing, and so he wanted to go fishing. And so he recorded this talk for his team of insurance salespeople. And the talk just became, it went, I don't know, in the word of today would be it went viral. Everybody wanted it. It ended up becoming a gold record, so very high. Everybody was wanting it. Everyone was buying it. It was just fabulous. So I figure I'd share the first 5 minutes or so of this with you today, and I'll bring in other segments of it in the coming days, and I hope you like it. So here we go. This is Earl Nightingale's The Strangest Secret. So it starts off. I'd like to tell you about the strangest secret in the world. Some years ago, the late Nobel Prize winning doctor Albert Schweitzer was being interviewed in London, and a reporter asked him, "Doctor, what's wrong with men today?" And the great doctor was silent a moment, and then he said, "Men simply don't think." It's about this that I want to talk with you. And I just want to say, oh my gosh, what an amazing observation. And it leads me to want to ask you and to even ask myself, what are you thinking? What am I thinking? And perhaps another good question might be, have I recently sat down for a little bit of time and just thought about what I'm doing, about what I want, about where I'm heading? And really, actually, it's at the beginning of Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. It's the very first question in the entire book. And what does he say? What do you want most? Is it money, fame, power, contentment, personality, peace of mind, happiness? And so I think it's such a valid question for all of us to be asking ourselves, what do I want? And am I working toward it? Anyway, the article continues. We live today in a golden age, and I couldn't agree more. Shoot, here in Southern California, where I'm at, well, maybe we're not taking care of ourselves as well as we used to, and you've probably seen that on the news and all sorts of stuff. And that's really something new in the last year or couple of years. However, we really are fortunate being here. I mean, any problems we have, I feel, are really self-inflicted, and we really do live our whatever problems we have, they really are first world problems. So we really don't have that much to gripe about. Anyway, the article continues. This is an era that man has looked forward to, dreamed of, and worked toward for thousands of years. But since it's here, we pretty well take it for granted. We here in America are particularly fortunate to live in the richest land that ever existed on the face of the earth. And boy, do I sure do agree with that. We are just so blessed. A land of abundant opportunity for everyone. But do you know what happens? Let's take 100 men who start even at the age of 25. Do you have any idea what will happen to those men by the time they're 65? These 100 men who all start even at the age of 25 believe they're going to be successful. If you ask any one of these men if he wanted to be a success, he'd tell you that he did. And you'd notice that he was eager toward life, that there was a certain sparkle in his eye, an erectness to his carriage, and life seemed like a pretty interesting adventure to him. You know, I have to ask, has or is your life a pretty interesting adventure, and shouldn't it be? And why is it, or why is it not? You know, great questions to ask yourself. Nightingale continued, by the time they're 65, one will be rich, four will be financially independent, 41 will still be working, 54 will be broke. And I gotta say, kind of, what a sad commentary. And it really hasn't changed. Now think a moment. Out of the 100, only 5 made the grade. Now, why do so many fail? What has happened to the sparkle that was once in their eyes when they were 25? What became of the dreams, the hopes, the plans, and why is there such a large disparity between what these men intended to do and what they actually accomplished? Why is there such a big that? Why is that such a big gap for people, what they wanted and what their end result was? Nightingale continues, when we say about 5% achieved success, we have to define success. And here's the best definition I've ever been able to find. And I got to tell you, this is the best one I've heard so far as well. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. If a man is working toward a predetermined goal and he knows where he's going, that man is a success. If he's not doing that, then he's a failure. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. So you have to recognize that this was Earl wrote this and recorded this back in the 1950s. And so the language isn't exactly what everyone would appreciate today, and that's okay. Just have to understand what that is, how it was. And today he'd probably be saying, if a person is working toward a predetermined goal and knows where they're going, that person is a success. If they're not doing that, they're a failure. And so I want to add to that. So I ask myself, am I giving my goal, am I giving my life the energy it requires for me to be successful at it? Am I thinking about what would be success for me? And am I doing anything about it? So he continues in this article. Rollo May, the distinguished psychiatrist, wrote a wonderful book called Man's Search for Himself. And in this book, he says, the opposite of courage in our society is not cowardice. It is conformity. It's acting like the other guy. And there you have the trouble today. It's conformity. People acting like everybody else without knowing why, without knowing where they're going. Now think of it. In America right now, there are over 18 million people 65 years of age and older, and most of them are broke. They're dependent on somebody else for life's necessities. Now, I couldn't help that statistic is back from the late 1950s. So I looked it up for today. That 18 million back then, today in 2024, the number of U.S. residents over 65 years old is 62 million, a full 18% of the United States population, just big. So Earl continues. Now, we learn to read by the time we're 7. We learn to make a living by the time we're 25. Usually by that time, we're not only making a living, we're supporting a family. And yet by the time we're 65, we haven't learned how to become financially independent in the richest land that has ever been known. And here's the big question: why? We conform. And the trouble is, we're acting like the wrong percentage group, the 95% of the people that don't succeed. Now, why do these people conform? Well, they really don't know. These people believe that their lives are shaped by circumstances, by situations, by the environment that they grew up in, by things that happen to them, by exterior forces. They're outer directed people. They're thinking that their environment is controlling them, when in reality, it's what's inside of you. It's what inside of you, and making those decisions for you and moving on those decisions. There's only 5% of the people doing that. So a survey was made one time that covered a lot of men, working men, and these men were asked, why do you work? Why do you get up in the morning? And 19 out of 20 of those people had no idea. If you ask them, they'll say, well, everybody gets up in the morning and goes to work. And that's the reason they do it, because everybody else is doing it. So let's get back to that definition of success. Who succeeds? The only person who is the person who is progressively realizing a worthy ideal. He's the person who says, I'm going to become this or that or the other thing, and then begins to work toward that goal. He says, I'll tell you who the successful people are. A success is the school teacher who's teaching school because that's what he or she wants to do. The success is the woman who's a wife and mother because she wanted to become a wife and mother and is doing a good job of it. The success is a man who runs the corner gas station because that was his dream. That's what he wanted to do. The success is the successful salesman who wants to become a top-notch salesman and grow and build his organization. So overall, if you wrap all that up, a success is anyone who is doing deliberately a predetermined job because that's what they wanted to do deliberately. But unfortunately, only 1 out of 20 actually do that. And there's that 5% again. That's why today there isn't really any competition unless we make it for ourselves. Instead of competing, all we have to do is create. You know, for 20 years, I looked for the key which would determine what would happen to a human being. Was there a key? I wanted to know, which would make the future a promise that we could foretell to a large extent? Was there a key that would guarantee a person's being successful? If you only knew about it and knew how to use it, well, there is such a key, and I found it. That was Earl Nightingale saying that back in the late 1950s. There is a key to success, and he found it, and we're going to talk about it some more in some future videos that I put up here. So I hope I hope you enjoyed that little bit of a reading. If you want, make some comments below. If you're interested in hearing anything more that I do, my website is garyglass.us. There's a button to register, and there's all kinds of free content back there that you're very welcome to have access to. When you register, you'll get a username and an email and a password and all that good stuff. And go on in there, check it out. There's great materials in there. And I'll probably end up putting this back there as well, so you'd be able to find it whenever you choose. And the following readings from Earl's work as well. So hope you have a great day. God bless you, everybody. God bless us, everyone. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.